Hey, hello, and good yarn and yarnophiles, and welcome to another video with Yarnaphilia. Today, we are going to look at some of the yarns we found at the Dollar Tree. So we just happened to be at the Dollar Tree, and we saw a bunch of yarns were made by Premier Yarns. Now, Premier Yarns does have yarn, a whole variety of yarns that they carry on their website, but they also have a series that they bring to the Dollar Tree, which, as we know, has become the $1.25 tree. So let's take a look at some of the yarns they had available. So here we are at the Dollar Tree, and we were just looking at what I saw that first day I went. There's a lot of different colors here, which is what I like. A lot of variety. It's kind of not really congruent if you're trying to do one project at a time, but it's here. It's yarn, and this is the most amount of yarn I've ever seen at the Dollar Tree. I've only been back maybe 2 more times to this particular Dollar Tree, and each time there's less. So I got a little bit of everything, maybe 2 balls of each thing. I was planning on making some projects, but as we go on, we'll see that I wasn't really that into it. But here is the Just Active, just showing you what we got going on here. We got worsted weight. The Just Active is mixed with polyester. They have a tweed, which I thought was pretty cool. It did look nice. It's just, you get what you pay for, guys. And just was showing you guys the difference in size as well too, and how much yarn you actually get does vary across, even when it seems like they're the same kind. And don't mind the knocks of the camera, that's just a little baby bopping around. So this is the other one, just worsted, which is the same amount of yarn as with the other just yarn tweed, but the active gives you less. Then we have the Dream Chenille. I had such high hopes. I really thought I was going to make something with it until I started playing around with them, and I just didn't really like them that much. Wake me up from this dream. So I'm just giving you guys a look of everything that's going on here. We're going to go ahead and look at everybody else separately. So as I said, I got all that Dream Chenille because I just looked at a project I wanted to try out with this yarn, do a little test. And as I said, as I actually played with the yarn, I totally changed my mind. So I'm kind of glad I decided to do this because it changed my mind. More partially is actually the difference between the Dream Chenille and the Just Chenille. It turned out I actually really like the Just Chenille more. However, as we're also going to see, there are some issues with the sizing and how it feels. My biggest issue with Dream Chenille, spoiler alert, is just because one side is like a braided cord and the other side has the fluff, whereas this Just Chenille is fluff all the way around. But there were issues with that as well. Like I said, guys, the lesson of the day is that you're going to get what you pay for. So this yarn is definitely not for everyone. So let's wake up from the dream here. I just wasn't a fan, y'all. I kept trying. You see, I'm struggling with it. I gave up. I was trying to do a full swatch. I didn't even bother because I was so frustrated. It was taking me so long just to make the swatch. It's soft, but I don't know how it'll feel against the skin. That rope part's really harsh. Then we have here the worsted. As I mentioned, the Just Active, which has polyester blended in with the acrylic. Then you have the Just Worsted and the Just Yarn plain worsted and the Just Yarn tweed. Those are just yarn. Like, at least that is not deceptive. But it's just yarn, guys. So of course I do my center skein pull, and I got the super gross yarn barf. Yeah, I hate it. But it's a center pull thing. It's part of center pull life. I have tried pulling from the outside, and hashtag center pull is life. So as I deal with that ugliness, I actually found it pretty easy to work with this yarn, which is why I was able to make a pretty good sized swatch. So this yarn's easy to work with. It's just the problem that it feels really scratchy. It actually feels almost as bad as cotton, except for it doesn't have the absorbency of cotton. So like, what is it good for? I thought about making something with it, but I don't think so. Same thing for the other Just Yarn worsted. it works. It's easy to work with. It's good to see. I think this is a great beginner yarn if you're just starting out and you're only trying to spend $1.25. Otherwise, stick to your stash and anything else. All right. Now, this is just deceptive marketing for literally no reason. Like, explain to me why they bothered to label it like this. It says just cotton, and the label clearly shows that there's polyester in there. It's about 85% cotton. Like, if I was a petty kind of person, I might do, like, I guess call the FFTC, the Federal Trade Commission or something, and pull a Karen and make a big deal about it. But, like, also, as I'm pointing out here, the label says it's worsted weight. I don't know if you guys can see it on my finger, but, and I understand, we will discuss more about the difference in yarn weights. For those of you who don't know, it's called weight because it's actually based upon how many yards or meters you get per 100 grams. So that's why sometimes there's varying thicknesses of the yarn because it's made from different materials. But literally the Active, the Dream Chenille, the Just Yarn all feel like worsted. The Just Cotton worked like a DK, felt like a DK, what is listed as a worsted. You don't get enough for the weight for it to be considered worsted. Like, what was going on? I was able to make a swatch out of it. It wasn't horrible to work with, but the ply does fall apart a little bit. It splits very easy. So this is one of those examples of where you're working with a budget yarn, but you're actually getting a much harder project or product to work with than if you went for a higher quality, a little more premium yarn. And what I mean with here is what I'm talking about is how scratchy it is. You see, I'm rubbing it against my hand. Like, this is a rough dishcloth. I mean, sure, it'll work if you're gonna wash your face with it. You could wash dishes. The ply falls apart, which what that means for you guys is all those little bitty strings that are woven together come apart as you work it, which makes it really hard to work with as compared to another cotton that costs pennies more. So come on, y'all. Like, pay for something a little bit. Now the eyelash yarn. Yeah, it's alright. I mean, I just don't really like eyelash yarn. It's such a novelty. It reminds me of like those grandmas, and it's not to bash anyone's grandma or any grandmas out there, but like, if I see eyelash yarn in a yarn store, like a local yarn shop, I already know who's up in here. This is another one that says it's bulky weight, and I understand that's because of the fluff of the eyelash. And so I did use the recommended hook size, and kind of like you'd predict, this is just a pain in the butt to work with. It took a long time for me to get used to it, and I did eventually develop a rhythm, as you're seeing there. And I'm 100% positive that I was skipping stitches and just doing all kinds of mess. That's why I didn't bother making a full swatch. It ain't because I'm lazy. I love to crochet. I love to knit. But this was just a pain in the butt. Now, I could see making something fun like Mardi Gras or Christmassy, just like a cheap novelty item. And because it's a novelty type yarn, depending on the local yarn shops in your area, you may not even find this. And again, I understand some of us are just not into ordering online and waiting for things to come in the mail. So, for example, my local yarn shop does not have any eyelash yarn. I will have to look next time I'm in a Joanne or Michael's to see if it's in there. I don't even recall, so it might have been in there in the corner somewhere. But these guys had a variety of this yarn, so it's not that bad, and the yardage, it goes far because of that fluff to it. So I think if you like eyelash yarn, go for it. I think this is just fine, and it has application, so there's that. Now the Just Chenille, which is, as I say, just bulky weight. This is one of those situations. Now, we're about to have another gross moment here, another little bit of yarn barf. Watch out. Ugh. Now, after I spent forever and a half sorting out all of this yarn barf, it was just so much of it. I used a recommended hook size because they said it was super bulky weight, number 6. But as you can see in my swatch here, the swatch is very open, it's very holy, it's very loose. I actually got this yarn with the intention of using it for a baby project for our son that required super bulky weight yarn. And I returned this because this is not super bulky weight. It's just bulky weight. And that's fine, but it's just deceptive. And if you're new at this, if you are not familiar with these yarns, I understand we'll discuss more about yarn weight being literally about the weight, as I mentioned, how much yarn in yards or meters you get per 100 grams. But if you're new to this and you went to Dollar Tree just trying to get some super bulky weight yarn to make a project like I am, you would be frustrated with this. You would not get the result. And if you just got this yarn and made a pattern with it and then wanted to post it and tell everybody, yeah, use super bulky weight yarn, you would frustrate everybody else. So just be advised. All right, so there was our look at Premier Yarns and what they have at the Dollar Tree. Now, as we can see, hey, it's yarn. They've got a variety. They've got worsted, they've got cotton, they've got tweed, they've got Chenille, their Dream Chenille. They've got a variety of things available, and hey, that's a lot to ask, a lot to get for $1.25. To be honest, I had zero expectations. I didn't even believe that there really was yarn at the Dollar Tree. To be quite honest, I virtually never shopped there, and I just so happened to be there and decided to swing by, and what do you know, it was there. So to say that they met my expectations, I can honestly say that it exceeded my expectations because it was in fact yarn. Perfectly comparable to anything you might see at Joann's or Michael's or your Hobby Lobby, just your basic run-of-the-mill bargain or value-based yarn. But on that note, let's get more into the specifics. Now, that cotton, that just cotton, I feel like that's deceptive marketing, and quite honestly, if I cared enough, I might go to somebody about it. The label clearly says just cotton, but then if you roll over the label again and actually look at what it says, there's some polyester mixed in there. So clearly it's not just cotton, and that's deceptive marketing. Why bother? Why not just make it for pure cotton and make it a smaller skein? I don't know. I'm not them. But all I know is if it says just cotton, it should be just cotton, and it definitely was not. Another thing about that just Chenille, it is labeled as super bulky, but it is not super bulky yarn. Definitely does not compare. It's right there with number 5 bulky rate yarn, which is perfectly fine, but I don't really see why they have it labeled as super bulky number 6 when it really does not hold up to that. And it's something that's really important because new knitters or novices and crocheters who might be looking at another pattern and be looking for super bulky yarn happen to see that and get it thinking that it's super bulky, might find it hard to get the right tension in their projects and really be wasting their energy, time, and of course money bothering with this yarn now they've already worked it out to make a project that ends up too small or too loose while being crocheted or knit on the recommended needle size. So I don't know why it's like that, but this is unfortunately very common, as you'll see with yarns, that you'll have them labeled as one thing, and sometimes if you do those wraps per inch and you do that test, you get something else. Another thing, that Dream Chenille, it's just not that dreamy. Maybe it's just me. I'm not really a big fan of that type of yarn, but I really found that since only one side actually had the fuzzy end, the other end that was a little more braided was a bit rough and abrasive. And I could see in certain types of projects, especially when worn close to the skin, that really wouldn't be that great or fun to use or wear. And I've definitely seen other more novelty type yarns that are similar to that are better. It's possible that Premier Yarns even has better yarn because I haven't actually ordered from Premier Yarns yet, and I may just do that to follow up on this. But definitely looking at what they're offering at the Dollar Tree, I mean, you get what you pay for. It's $1.25. So let's get into value. That's really the question here. If you're buying yarn for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree, you think you're getting a value. Well, are you? Let's compare the prices. So technically, after doing all the numbers, which I'll show you in just a moment, technically these yarns at a rate of cost per 100 yards, which is how I rate yarn at a cost per 100 yards, which is how I rate yarn per value, since you're usually buying in hundreds of yards at a time. So at cost per 100 yards, you can see that, and compared to the regular price, yes, Premier Yarns, Dollar Tree yarns are definitely a value. But wait, there's more. As we all know, a lot of the companies you may be buying from have sales, and Dollar Tree does not go on sale. So let's look at the price, number by number, and see, does it really compare? So focusing on the just yarn, on the worsted weight. Basic yarn, simple, something that every single brand in the budget and value yarn has. Let's do a comparison. So price per 100 yards, you're looking at $1.14 for the just yarn worsted weight. That's not so bad. And compared to regular price, Red Heart Super Saver at $1.25, Bernat Super Value at $1.36, Karen 1 pound at $1.48, Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo at $1.28, and Lion Brand Pound of Love at $1.40 per 100 yards. Once again, this definitely looks like a deal. But wait, there's more. At the time of this recording, Joann's has a sale, which Joann's just about always does. Joann also offers their Big Twist yarn, which regular price is $1.18 per 100 yards. So almost the same price. But what's that sale again? Right now, Red Heart Super Saver is going for 97 cents per 100 yards. Definitely a better deal. And Karen 1 pound is going at $1.04 per 100 yards at its sale price. In addition, all the other yarns that are not on sale qualify for a 50% off coupon per one item. Meaning, if you walk into that store and just get one ball of yarn using this coupon and walk out and maybe don't come back till the next day, you could get these yarns for as low as 64 cents per 100 yards. Dollar Tree just can't beat that price. So the problem here isn't really what Premier Yarns is doing, as they offer their own yarns and their own website and even have their own sales, but buying from the Dollar Tree is really not always going to be the best value. So who is this yarn for? I think this yarn is excellent for someone who's just starting out, who's on a budget, and doesn't really know if they're really going to do this. I mean, let's face it. Some of us just know. I mean, when you know, right? Even if you've never done it before, you know you're going to keep doing this. And so you go over to the yarn store, to the local yarn store, you get a nice $25, $30 ball of some beautiful, luxurious yarn and some gorgeous needles because you're just already in love. But if you're just really not sure, or maybe you're a crafter, just kind of playing around, you're going to do this for an arts and crafts project. Maybe if you're teaching a class and you want to just hand your clients a ball of yarn and let them walk home with it without breaking the bank, this is great for you. This is also good for people who are doing projects that involve a lot of different colors and aren't really interested in buying huge balls of yarn, especially if your local Dollar Tree actually has a large variety of colors. Now mine didn't. It just kind of had a couple things of a couple things, and that's just fine. I even went back again just to see, and a few of the colors that were there the first time weren't even there the second time. So, c'est la vie. You never know what you're going to get. If you know your Dollar Tree, then that's what's good for you. And of course, this will be really good for somebody who's trying to get into it or trying to continue yarn, doesn't really have the time or the patience to wait for things to come online. Maybe, again, you're on a tight budget and you just don't want to spend $60, $70, $100 to get that free shipping, nor are you trying to spend $10 on shipping costs just to get one ball of yarn. And moreover, the larger stores like Joann's, Michael's, and Hobby Lobby aren't close enough to you to warrant you going out there, or you just can't reach them at all. I mean, I live in a major city, and getting to Hobby Lobby will take me 2 hours by public transit. So that's why I mostly go to Joann's, Michael's, or buy online. But not everybody has that option. And so this may be good for you if the Dollar Tree is in your area. So at the end of the day, it's yarn. It works. It's nothing too special, a thing to write home about. And quite frankly, I feel that if you really are a committed crafter, a yarnaphiliac like myself, you're going to leave this stuff alone. Because quite honestly, you probably have enough scrap yarn sitting in your stash to warrant any use that you might really have for this yarn. But hey, that's for you and for you to decide. And that was a Yarnaphiliac review. I hope you make a good decision when it comes to what you're going to do and keep in your stash. And I'll see you all for the next one. Bye.